Tucker Carlson just appeared on a show called Can't Be Censored. I was on this show recently. Two very nice Canadian journalists flew in and interviewed me, and my interview went a little bit differently than Tucker's. And one of the big differences is that I was completely honest with the interviewers about everything they asked me. And Tucker, I believe, is being extraordinarily dishonest. Now, let me explain to you what Tucker is up to. Tucker is trying to execute the whole I'm becoming the outsider after spending years as the insider thing. But the problem is that Tucker wants to pretend he was only coincidentally adjacent to Trumpism and the MAGA movement and what the Republican Party has become. But what Tucker is being dishonest about with the interviewers is that he was actually one of the chief architects of turning the Republican Party into what it is today. Tucker acts shocked and appalled at what the Republican Party has become. And I'm going to play the clip. And he goes, I would not vote for Republicans. But it's tough to be shocked and appalled by what the Republican Party has become when you spent years creating the very narratives and incentives that drove it there. Tucker's whole immigrants make the country dirtier and poorer thing helped to build what MAGA and the Republican Party is today. And I could give you the long list of things that Tucker has done in this way. And even just being a Fox News host for as long as he was and manufacturing consent for the sort of president that Trump ultimately became is part of Tucker helping to build the monster that they now, I guess, have lost control of. Now, notice the wording from Tucker in this clip. He doesn't say Republicans have become disloyal recently. He's describing a party that he has supported, that he has defended, that he promoted for years. And the question for Tucker is, well, when did this transformation happen? Take a listen to this. I think it's very revealing.
I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. But at this point, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? It's not possible to vote for people like that. And I'm not going to. And I think I voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, right, MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral. And it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation. And they're not doing that. So no, I'm out. And if I'm out, then I think a lot of other people are out.
There is a big Dr. Frankenstein and the monster kind of dynamic going on here, because Tucker spent years teaching audiences you should distrust institutions, you should distrust expertise, you should distrust establishment Republicans and embrace populist strongman politics like those of Donald Trump. And now what has happened is that some of those same forces have become so powerful that Tucker kind of occasionally finds himself outside the very consensus that he helped to create. Excuse me just one second. If you're a regular viewer and somehow still haven't subscribed, maybe today's the day. We're getting really close to 4 million subscribers. I would love for you to be one of the 4 million. Back to the clip. I think the timing is also really interesting. It's much easier to criticize the Republican Party when Trump is already facing record low approval, internal divisions, massive public dissatisfaction, going back on just about every campaign promise. What I mean is it's similar to what I said last week about, Megyn Kelly and whoever else coming out softly against Trump. Being a dissident is a lot easier and less risky when the movement is already showing signs of weakness. And Tucker's brand has always depended on positioning himself as the person willing to tell the uncomfortable truths. Everybody else is pro-Trump, and now he's anti-establishment. And if suddenly everybody is anti-Trump, he would find some different contrarian angle. And what he wants is to just keep going with this business model of the outsider. That's the core thing. And he's sort of elaborated and expanded this as he left Fox News and now does his own thing. And that helps to, he's filming in his log cabin looking a studio in Maine and all of this different stuff. He's the outsider. He doesn't have the fancy studio. But the truth is that when the rubber meets the road, we all know Tucker will almost certainly support Republicans in forthcoming elections, whether it's 26 or 28. He will stick to this. No. I've found the right type of Republican. This time I'm still like sick of this party, but here are the right Republicans to support or whatever. It could be 26, could be 28. Now, the most likely explanation is not that Tucker suddenly is genuinely anti-Republican. I think he's trying to position himself above the Republican Party, which would be a much more sort of powerful role for him. And instead of being like another right-wing commentator, he becomes the guy who decides which Republicans are acceptable and which are not. I think that's what he really wants here. And I think that actually this is why the 2028 angle really matters. Some are saying, well, Tucker might run for office himself. He has said that he won't, but maybe he will. He can become a kingmaker. If Trumpism fractures, Tucker might see an opportunity to define what comes next. And there's a credibility problem here also, because if Tucker truly believes that the Republican Party is disloyal to the United States, supporting Republican candidates in 28 or even in 26 would be a contradiction. So let's remember that. History suggests that when election time comes on, ideological objections usually take a backseat to partisan loyalty. And I think that the broader story is bigger than Tucker versus the Republicans. It's that some of the biggest figures of the right-wing media are realizing we've created audiences that demand escalation. And when you radicalize your own audience so much that you struggle to control them, it starts to backfire. Now, this is a big issue that I address in my forthcoming book, Pay Attention. I announced yesterday the pre-order campaign is on. You can get your signed copies at davidpakman.com/attention. If you're interested in how audiences are developed, how they radicalize and turn against those who built them, this is a really important book, I believe, to check out. So davidpakman.com/attention, audiobook, ebook, all of it is available there. And I encourage you to check it out. On the bonus show today, a phenomenal discussion as to how the people fired over Charlie Kirk posts are getting payouts for First Amendment retaliation that they have suffered. The Senate has also passed a bill to lower housing costs and to restrict Wall Street from buying homes, which is very interesting. And a judge has blocked the use of a federal database to check citizenship, arguing it might wrongly purge voters. Republicans don't like it. It's a nasty judge, I'm sure. All of that and more on today's bonus show. Get it at joinpakman.com. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.